Hi, everyone. Good to see you again. I can't believe it's already been a month since I came to you live from Seattle when I was giving you an update on the latest happenings of Freedom Makers back then. And here it is already 4 weeks later, the last week of September. Not only is it the last week of September, it's the last week of the third quarter. And then we head into the final quarter of the year, which for many business owners is one of the busiest quarters of the year. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But one of the things I've noticed in this past month with prospective clients we've been speaking with is we've quite a few people who came to us came because their business has had substantial growth in the past 6 months to a year. In one case, it was double what he had started off with a year ago. And so these business owners were at this point now where their businesses were pretty busy. And in order to avoid working all hours, 20 hours a day, 15 hours a day, they now need help. And so they were coming to us to find out how we could help them so that they can stay at or their pace right now or continue to grow even more. And in order to do that, they needed help. So it was exciting to see that trend. I know that September tends to be a good month for business owners. Everyone's coming back from summer vacation and they're diving back into their business. And as a result, they're purchasing more products or more services that help other businesses. And the whole wheel just turns faster and faster or with a greater impact in the month of September. So it was fun to see that. We had that as well. For us at Freedom Makers, a couple things I think happened of note in September. The first is that whenever we get a request for a type of skill or experience that isn't currently represented in our community, we go out to the broader military spouse community and try to find people who have those skills and maybe haven't heard about us yet. And we had to do that in September. How exciting. There were a couple business owners who wanted support in skills and experience that we didn't have. So we went out to our networks to find those people within the military spouse community. And so as a result, we've had several amazingly qualified military spouses join us. And it's always exciting when we get new people and we're able to highlight and showcase their talent to the small business world. And then the other thing is, I kind of alluded to a minute ago, which is about this whole idea of preparing for the final quarter and in a more general sense, strategic planning. And for many of us, as we go into that last quarter, we're going to start planning for 2018. And thanks, Diana. And a lot of that is from you too. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to partner with you. It's been a lot of fun. Oh, sorry for that. Anyway, I don't like it when other people are on Facebook Live and they immediately cut off to some other topic. And I just did it. But I was so excited to hear from Diana. So thank you, Diana. Good to see you. And so one of the things I want to talk about is strategic planning, right? And so going into this last quarter, a lot of people will be starting to plan for fiscal year 18. Or they're going to be planning for this final quarter because it is a big quarter for many people. Others are freaking out because how is it already the end of the third quarter? And other people might not, they might be too busy, just like I mentioned with the business owners who've had double growth this year. How can they even think about next year when they're just trying to keep up with what's going on in the growth of their business now? So what do you do or what are we at Freedom Makers doing? I think one of the reasons I wanted to share this with you is maybe actually this should be a business topic for another Facebook Live about how to do strategic planning. And the reason I want to share it with you is because I'm different, I guess. I've come to accept that or embrace that. And pretty much the way I approach everything in life, I tend to do a little bit differently than everyone else. And so the whole SMART goals has never worked for me. And so I say all that to say that it's important to figure out what works for you. And this came up with a friend of mine who has been in business for about 3 years and has grown. I mean, she's doing amazingly well in her business. and is now at the point where she's ready to take her business to the next level, and she's seeking out support. And how does she do that? How does she plan around strategies to get her to that next level? And she is someone who very much will set a goal, and she makes it look easy how quickly she's able to manifest those goals. And part of it is just she believes it. She takes the steps that needs for it to get done, and she's focused on it. But the reason why I bring her up is, as she has been exploring this, she has been exploring different methods for doing this planning. And, the standard one that we all know from corporate America is your annual strategic plan, or even maybe the 5-year plan, 10-year plan, things like that. And I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago where this woman, she's like, with small businesses, you can't plan that far ahead. And I thought I was really, that stuck with me when she said that, because she brought up a good point. She's like, there's so much changing technology, and there's so much with small businesses. We're much more nimble, and it's almost futile to plan even for a year, because everything changes so fast in small businesses. If a major company is like what are those things called? Aircraft carriers, where it takes a long time to turn around or to change course, whereas a speedboat can change course in a split second. And so if you think of yourself or your small business as like a speedboat, you don't need a plan 20 to 50 miles in advance to turn left. You just turn left. And as a result, you don't need a plan for a year or 5 years. You plan for 1 or 2 quarters. And that's what that podcast guest said. My friend, who has been researching different planning tools for her own business, discovered one called the 12-week year, which is basically the same thing. You plan for 1 quarter at a time. And that seems to be working for her. And if that works for you, fantastic. It doesn't quite work for me. I think my thing is my relationship with time is a bit more fluid than most other people. And I'm sure all my close friends are nodding their heads that they know exactly what that means. So for me, I'm going to accomplish A, B, and C in 1 quarter just doesn't work for me. And so I wanted to share this with you, mostly because I'm sure I'm not the only one who struggles with that type of planning. And so if this works for you, by all means, I encourage you to use it. And the idea, actually, the suggestion came from my brother. He suggested that I put together a plan with different phases and just mark the key milestones. It doesn't have to be time related, but the key milestones for each phase, that once I hit those key milestones, then it's relatively safe for me to move on to the next phase. Because as many business owners, one of the things I struggle with is too many ideas at one time. So you're constantly spinning your wheels. I need to do that. 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 And when do you have the time to sit down and focus on one and see it all the way through to the end? And then we get frustrated and we beat ourselves up because it seems like we never finish anything. There's never enough time to finish anything. And so when that suggestion came out, it was really powerful for me. And I sat down and immediately wrote out, I think at the time it was a 6-phase plan, maybe your 5-phase plan. But as the year has gone on and I've had more ideas, it's now, I think, an 8-phase plan. And what's been amazing for me is that it does help me stay focused when someone on the team says, hey, can we talk about this idea? And I say, yes, that's great, but we're not going to address that until phase 3. And then so now I have the phase, the key milestones, and then all the ideas that have come up for that phase. And so it's been really powerful for me because it has helped me to stay focused on a phase. And I don't feel like I'm dropping the ball on anything because I know that idea will be addressed when I get to that phase, when I'm ready to get to that phase. And so to include that as part of the Freedom Makers update is that we're currently on phase 2. Phase 1 we finished, and I won't bore you with what the phases are, but phase 1 we finished pretty quickly within the first quarter. Phase 2 took us up until now. We've been sort of laying the groundwork and getting it ready, and it'll probably take us through the rest of this year and maybe even early the next year to get it fully running to the point where we've hit the milestones where I'm comfortable enough to move on to phase 3. And quite honestly, phase 3 will probably take at least 1 quarter, maybe all of next year. And so I just wanted to share that with you because there's no time constraint around it that I'm going to do it in this quarter or that quarter. I'm not very good about estimating time that way, and also just it gets frustrating if I'm late on that time. Now, some people that helps because it lights a fire under them. For me, it doesn't quite work that way. But the milestones have been really helpful for me to make sure that I don't move on to the next phase too soon or that I lose focus in the current phase. So that's been really nice. And so I wanted to share that with you. Just one is an update for Freedom Makers that we are ramping up phase 2 right now, and we'll probably hit the key milestones by the end of this year or first quarter next year that will allow us to get started on phase 3. And who knows how many phases we'll end up at, but as of now, I think we're at about 8 phases. So if you struggle with strategic planning, consider using that. I'm happy to talk privately with you about how I do it. And I also recommend checking out maybe 12-week year, or there are business coaches out there that are helping to plan, especially with the year end coming up. And and so I'll leave it at that. But so those are the big updates for us in this very fast month. We saw a lot of growth in our clients, which we're very happy to be able to support them with that growth. We had some amazing new spouses, military spouses, join our community, and we are ramping up in our current phase of operations, and that makes me excited because phase 3 is pretty big. And I think 1 or 2 people know about phase 3, so I won't announce it here. I want to announce it internally first and get that rolling because we don't really know what it'll look like. So, okay, enough mystery. I'll leave it alone. But if you want to talk about strategic planning or talk about the growth of your business, happy to do it. I love brainstorming. Post it in the comments, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.